Here we are, coming in hot. We are live.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the
2W Automotive Insiders podcast.
Awesome.
That's right, the 2W podcast. It's Automotive Insiders, a little long, but I am your co-host, Gideon Williams. This is the 2W podcast, and we are coming live from Vegas, man, out in Apex, in SEMA. It has been awesome so far. We are in day one. I know we've had AWDA the last few days, so we're seeing a lot of distribution come in, meet with manufacturers. And really, I guess my first question, well, here, before that, RevolutionParts, Jensay Numa, heads up all their marketplaces, expert in e-commerce, great asset to the industry, Jensay. Welcome to 2W Podcast, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. First time here at Apex SEMA or been before?
Yeah, first time.
What's your take?
It's awesome. It's so cool to see all the different manufacturers here, all the networking, all the connections, and all the new stuff coming out.
What's your take on SEMA, man?
It is awesome. I believe everybody should be here. I think it's a great place to network, great place to learn about all the new trends that's on.
How about the vehicles, man?
Amazing, amazing.
Well, that's what I've always. So I remember years ago, the first time coming, I went over to SEMA, and I was blown away at the enthusiasm that the people inside the industry have for their products. Just right before you had Combat Off-Road CEO Ryan Stingani. I don't want to butcher his last name. Again, he started in the industry at 20-something years old. Now he's creating a lot of products for accessories for Jeep, and now he's going into Toyota and the Bronco. But I always love to understand the perspective of a first-time attendee when you start to walk around SEMA and you're like, holy cow, that's like $250,000 you just dumped in that truck.
It's great, especially growing up in the parts industry. You actually have so much respect for the attention to detail that these manufacturers put into them.
Just out of curiosity, how'd you get in the automotive?
I actually used to work as a lot porter. That's where I started off. That was about 13 years ago, maybe 14 years ago. And then from there, I was a parts driver. Then I actually worked in a parts warehouse and was on a parts counter and asked my dealership, hey, why don't we sell parts online? They said, we don't know how. I said, let's figure it out. Let's open up a little eBay page. And that's where my journey began. I was 6 e-commerce parts departments since then. Yeah.
You know, okay, I have a story that's similar to that of many friends. And when I got in the industry as well, I was introduced to an owner, the executive of a distribution company. He said, our e-commerce division absolutely is falling flat on its head. It's a net loss leader, which I don't know what that even means. And that's how I got into it. I got in, I was at the point we developed our first warehouse to ship out of. I was running back and forth from my office, my computer inside to the warehouse, making sure all of these things begin to align up. And you know what I find interesting, and I think you'll appreciate it, is when you kind of begin to get behind on the parts counter, service the customer, when you're delivering it to that either repair shop or you're delivering it, and then you begin to look in the online world, you have a whole new perspective of how parts works.
Absolutely. And a whole new respect for it on top of that. And you realize, too, that there's so much business that can be done online versus being stuck in one storefront or one location. And people actually are way more comfortable buying things online. And I saw that for years whenever I was in a dealership. I'm like, hey, service department does things online, sales department does things online, everyone else does things online. Why are we not doing things online? And but at that time it was just such an odd concept in the automotive space. So definitely grew up from there, and it's so cool to see how many companies have adapted it. Which is why I'm so pro Revolution Parts.
Well, talk us a little bit about that. What do you do for Revolution Parts? What is your core focus every day?
Well, let me back up one step, and I'll go into that. So I actually was a customer of Revolution Parts for 8 years.
Oh wow!
All right, so definitely, and sold parts through the platform, and I actually came on as a consultant originally just to start coaching different accounts on how to actually progress and how to actually to have proper operational practices whenever you're actually doing online sales, because there's a lot of things that go on besides just selling a part, right? You have to make sure you have proper inventory, proper pricing, proper shipping metrics, proper staff. I mean, you have to have all those things in order. A lot of things I messed up on. I destroyed multiple accounts, learned how to have good ones. But
there's a lot like that. You're not the only guy. It's like, wait, why have you've had like 8 accounts, 5 of them are dead. You just open a new.
Sorry. I see what to do better next time.
But that was before even having a big time website. I mean, a lot of that was about, eBay Motors is their largest category, right? eBay, I think they've invested heavily in automotive. Amazon as well. That's how the journey started.
Yep. So then from there came on to Revolution as a consultant. And now I actually do a lot of coaching for marketplaces and actually have the relationship between eBay and Amazon and Revolution Parts. And it's also is huge in the aftermarket space. I mean, some of our accounts that are growing the fastest right now are on eBay and Amazon are aftermarket accounts. You know? So definitely crazy opportunity that's available.
What I'd love to understand, because I've been in this game for a long time, and I think the industry's evolving. It's going to continue to shift and evolve. Obviously, your expertise is around parts, commerce, and obviously, marketplace as well. I mean, that's kind of where you really, because I've seen a lot of sellers lose their ass, for lack of a better word, on marketplace, just because there's a cost to learning, right? And I think that you could probably say I have been through that, and that's kind of what you specialize in. So I guess I'll first say, folks looking for a marketplace expert, somebody who really knows that side of the business that could help them, would be Jensay. How can people reach out to you? Just LinkedIn, or are you active on LinkedIn? Or
I'm on LinkedIn, obviously through any account that's on Revolution.
Sure.
I will say that one of the issues that people have with marketplaces is there's rules and standards, and the rules and standards that are there are to create predictability for the users on the platform, and it actually protects the people buying, which creates a comfort purchase. So it's rules you have to learn, and once you learn it, it's crazy amount of income that can be developed for any account that's on there. So definitely, if somebody wants to reach out to gain some more understanding and knowledge, it saves. I mean, I burn down accounts. Hey,
but that's the best way to learn.
Yeah.
That's the best way to learn. It's like hey, go screw that up. Hey, but I'm gonna tell you, there's more learning whenever you screw it up, because there's a feeling associated with that. There's a feeling of like, God dang it, did I screw that up enough? Listen, in my experience in life, everything's repairable. You know what I mean? But the cost of learning and the will to continue to push the limits, I think is critically important. And that's what we see in online parts. I think you have a lot of different opinions, right? I could tell you, and I'm not going to name any names, but it was back in the day. I was dealing with a big manufacturer when I was at the distribution level, and they were convinced that the internet was not a thing.
Oh my God.
And I'm just like, man, I don't know what to tell you. It's coming. And it is. It's going to continue. I mean, we're seeing what a lot of great platforms are doing. We're seeing what RevolutionParts is doing in the OE space, where that kind of is moving in the aftermarket. But one thing I'm curious on, because I think marketplaces are a necessary evil. I don't believe you should evolve. This is my opinion, and debate me and correct me if you think I'm off. Please. I do believe that marketplaces are a necessary evil, but I don't believe that they can be your only strategy.
So it really depends on your plan that you've got. I think it's a great place for a person getting into e-commerce to start. Because literally, in the mindset is usually if you start a website, you have to be willing to put out large marketing dollars to drive traffic. Or if you're on a marketplace, you're actually not putting out large marketing dollars. The marketing dollars you're paying them out per the fees.
It's built in. I've already I've realized this order, the revenue, and now I can. That was my marketing.
Exactly. So it's a great way for people to get into the space and grow up into the space and understand how to actually deal with online customers, how to actually start getting your name out there, and then you can transition or even funnel traffic to web platforms,
building relationships, and really kind of looking at that piece. One thing I'm curious at is Walmart, man. There's been a lot of talk on Walmart. I think I've actually was a part of one of the very first automotive. This is actually kind of funny. I was a part of one of the very first automotive Amazon contracts, and I was a part of one of the pretty close Walmart contracts at the distribution level, right? What's your take with Walmart? I've got my opinion, and it's probably a little bit dated. And we can be real.
Okay. If we could be real, I'll be real, because that's the type of guy I am anyway.
Well, we gotta be honest.
I think they've got a ways to go. They realize they need to be in the online space. They realize that that's the future. But there's certain things that need to be in place to actually run with a marketplace mindset. Amazon and really eBay is really the forerunners of this. But
when we talk marketplace,
when we talk about marketplace, but Walmart definitely has a footing in the game, but not at the same level right now. I feel like maybe one day they'll get there.
So that was my experience as well, and this was from the distribution level, where we had 200 million in inventory. We had a very large position. We were a growing leader in the online parts fulfillment, because distributors look at it from a fulfillment perspective, right? And they do have obviously marketplace connections, right? And what I always found really interesting is it was always a moving target.
Yeah.
And this was a couple years ago. I mean, I'm dating my opinion right now on it because it's not live, meaning in the last 6 months. And I just always felt like that it was always a moving target. I mean, it took me 2 years to get a contract in place, right? And a very simple contract. Yeah. We're not. But by the way, a contract that either party can leave at any given time.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And I think even when you look at distributors, and you look at whether I know you work a lot on the OE side, but when you start to look at the aftermarket, everything's around a distributor. And I think a lot of people get caught up in the contracting a little bit too much, because the key in contracts is obviously you want to protect both parties, but you want each party to be able to walk away at any time, right? Yep. That's the biggest thing, right? And everything else kind of takes care of itself. You figure out, you have fulfillment, returns, shipping, and a mutually mutually beneficial partnership. And I think I mean, Walmart, do you think it's worth, as a part seller kind of just getting in the game, do you think it's worth them dabbling in it? Or do you think that, I don't know.
I feel like what's healthy for people, especially getting in the marketplace space, go to the most established ones first.
I agree.
And then you get your bearings down between them. And then from there, you can dabble in the other ones that are up and coming. So you don't throw your whole strategy and or perspective of experience on how only one is doing. I was always a proponent of like, hey, listen, I got, in my case was eBay was my bread and butter, and then Amazon is my backup, and then let me learn Walmart. I mean,
for sure.
So you have business running the way. So if Walmart doesn't do good, if one doesn't flow well, you're still in a good place. You know what I mean?
Well, it's a hedge risk.
Yep.
You're hedging your risk, right? I think that's a great recommendation is, there's a lot of part sellers, whether you're in the aftermarket, the OE, or blended or whatever, and you're looking at the commerce side of it, begin to dabble in potentially, one marketplace, just so you're not deploying marketing dollars. I've always thought of parts commerce, low risk, high upside.
Yep.
If you're going to tell me there's low risk and high upside, then I'm a sold guy, right? I love low risk, high upside. And I make this same recommendation to anybody, whether you're at a enterprise level, multi-billion-dollar organization, just because you maybe have a budget of in excess of multi-millions of dollars to deploy. Like, let's stop here, guys. We don't have to do that, right? But let's look for very, very low risk, high upside. And I think when you look at the type of seller, whether you're just starting out or you're advanced, that the model holds true. And I think that's incredible advice. Jensay, Revolution Parts, really a marketplace leader. The 2W podcast. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah,
appreciate all your insights.
Thanks for having me, man. I can look forward to seeing more what's happening here at SEMA and ABEX.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Check it all out, and we'd love to have you on more. If you ever have any big breakthroughs and you want to, chat about it, launch it. We have an entire bed of automotive listeners that love we want to keep pushing the limits. I think that's where we all sit, as we have to as an industry. If we don't do it, we're doing a disservice to the people behind us, but we're also doing a disservice to our current careers. You and I I still got 25, 30 years in the tank, man. And so it's an exciting time, but we appreciate having you. And as always, this is the 2W podcast. We're the voice of the industry.